Good morning.
How's it going?
Good. How are you, Brennan?
Oh,
Hey, Andrew.
How goes it?
Good. Where are you at?
I'm 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 tagging along with Alicia to work today down in
Oh, fun.
we're headed down south. Are you guys headed to the Tushers this weekend?
Yeah, he signed up for it a couple days ago. We'll see if she actually, or if I come with the kids. Not sure yet, because he'll just be gone the whole day. But
We Yeah, cool.
what are you guys? Are you biking over there or what?
We're gonna do a bit of running, a little bit of biking. Yeah, just try and get out of the heat.
Yeah.
Um,
It's gonna be hot.
yeah. Where are the kids right now?
We literally have them just in the other room watching a show.
Nicely
So hopefully
done. I was so excited to chat with you guys about parenting, and I know we're going to talk about the world, and I want to talk about endurance sport, I want to talk about running, but every time I see pictures of you guys out and about, you're doing rad stuff as parents, but there's always like this kind of fork in the road when people start a family, right? It's like they keep charging independently, or they keep charging and they bring their kids with them, and every time I see stuff, and I know it's only part of the picture, but your kids just look like they're living such an awesome life. Like they're jumping off cliffs into water. They're going canyoneering. You guys are going boating. You're doing some climbing. They're bouldering. I mean, what's a day in the life?
Well, they probably hate it half the time. No, maybe not that bad, but no, it's definitely a good point. I think there's a reason why a lot of people kind of disappear from doing the things they love while they have small kids. And really it's like a sanity thing, Andrew, because taking your kids camping means no sleeping. Taking your kids to do these adventures means multiple breakdowns.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But like, it's like another microcosm of parenting where the good moments are that much better. And the joy you find are not any different from all the work you put in for training to have, that one good race day or whatever, if you want to look at it that way.
And that balance too. I mean, how has it been as far as like being an elite runner and balancing being an awesome mom as well? Like, how does that look?
Well, I think it's really hard, but it doesn't help when your partner is equally,
Getting after it.
Get out there. So
Yeah.
It was funny. You were like, "Can you send a picture of you and Brennan running together?" I'm like,
Does that happen?
But I did. I texted some friends, and I was like, "Did you take a picture of us when we did this?" No, I will say it's the one thing that I think if I would say I have a chip on my shoulder about anything, it's that I feel like only other parents necessarily might understand what it is that we actually do, if that makes sense.
And it's hard for me to appreciate not having kids, but Katie Arnold, who's the Leadville 2018 champion, she's awesome. She's a really talented writer. And I was talking to her about this very thing, and it was very similar, where she was like, you can't really understand what I'm trying to tell you, because it's its own beast, I think it's just this it's a hard thing to balance and hard to explain, I'm sure.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say?
yeah, I mean, there's a couple, in terms of day in the life, there's a lot of trade-offs. We trade off a lot of time. Somebody has to be with the kids. And so I think people that look on Alexis, maybe, or myself, less importantly, probably think that we train more than we do. We were just talking to some friends yesterday about how little we actually train compared to most, like, quote unquote athletes, which, maybe we could train more and be healthier, be faster, something like that. But kids take a lot of time, and I work full time as well. And Lex is, doing the mom thing a lot, and it takes a lot of work. So there's just a lot of trading of time.
Or maybe you have to become more efficient. I think you've probably discovered that along your way to things that,
wake up earlier, squeeze things in
Yeah.
when you can.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like since having kids, we both actually started climbing harder and running faster, because it's like, oh, got 2 hours, or I got 3 hours, especially while I was nursing, which I nursed all my kids for a year to a year and a half. The last one, Izzy, was the most hard, and that made it just made my window of ability to do stuff much shorter.
Yeah.
But I also think maybe it puts things in perspective where I'm like, okay, climbing up the side of this mountain is really hard, but it's not nearly as hard as being woken up 4 times in the night by a kid who's sick, right?
Toughen you guys up a bit in that regard. Yeah, sleep deprivation is like, no, I don't have to train up sleep deprivation. I'm always sleep deprived.
Exactly. No, totally. We're like, oh, we got this. We've been living off of, like 4 hours of sleep for like 6 months now. But I do want to say though that like it also comes at a cost of patience sometimes with the kids. And I feel equally respectful of people who choose to really back off training and fully dedicate themselves to just being a parent. I think what we've discovered is that we have to do both or we lose our sanity. So to make our family's mental health happy, we lose a little bit of sanity, what I mean? It's a bit more almost.
You're doing that dance a little bit, but you guys, it seems, and you guys both like to climb a bit, you do some boating, some canyoneering. I mean, it also seems like the variety is good. I mean, you guys are getting out and doing more than just like just running. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We predominantly.
I mean, you wouldn't consider yourself a runner historically.
It's
kind of the funny thing.
Yeah. I mean, I never ran. I never did college. I never did anything formally with running. I did soccer in high school, but I climbed a lot in college, and then kind of like I actually didn't really get into running until right before Marlowe, and then in between my kids is when after Marlowe is when I did the first attempt on the WURL, and then in between kids is when I did some of those races.
You guys reckon you're climbers then runners? For both of you, Brennan, is that the same for you or?
Yeah, I mean, Alexis, you kind of did soccer, then triathlons in college, and then climbing mostly. You always ran, but you didn't like compete or do anything.
I think we really just love being in the outdoors. I love to climb and I love to run. Those are definitely the 2 things we do most. And running is just the reason why we really picked it up too. Is it is so convenient.
Yeah.
You don't need a partner. You don't need gear. You need shoes. You need to be out before and back. And it's definitely played to having a family because you can both maybe fit in a harder workout and then still do like that family activity for the day or whatever.
So is that why you guys moved so quickly on the WURL? You were like, I got to get home. I got to make dinner. We got to move on this thing because the kids are going to wake up from the nap. And so I need you to keep moving a little quicker so we can get back to the house.
It's kind of true. It's the reason
we had a friend babysitting that was a friend now, but we met originally through just interactions at the climbing.
I just want to make sure I understand correctly. You guys basically put the kids down for a nap and you're like, okay, we're going to leave at midnight. We got to be back by pancakes in the morning. Let's go.
It really was like that. We've been wanting to do it together, and we had an open weekend that came up. And none of my family was around. I have some family who lives close who could usually help out with the kids. So we were like, okay, when can we get childcare? And literally that's what dictated when we ended up starting.
It was like,
it turned out it was great. Yeah. But we were kind of like, all right, 9:30, that's when like his sister could show up and watch him through the night. And then we had my good friend Kylie Johnson say she could watch them starting at like 8:30 the next day. And I was like, I don't know when we'll be done. Plan on the whole day, because I love it. Didn't know. And like more to the point, we had not really been training.
Yeah.
Like, I look at when people are like, how'd you train for the WURL? I'm like, well, I don't know, like over 6 years being outside.
Yeah.
Because as you know, with anything that's long, it really becomes a mental game. It's at some point in there, it's much more about like judging through feeling terrible. But I shouldn't say I hadn't trained at all, but I think relative to a lot of what I've seen people train to do the WURL, I had done speed go a month prior.
Okay. Yep.
And I sustained an ankle injury actually, which ended up resulting in surgery this last December. So I literally took 3 weeks off of running and then did one training run. And then the week before we did the WURL, we were like, well, we need to go stash water on the Cottonwood Ridgeline.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hot. And so that was the only section we had done that year, with the exception of a like 5 years previously when we actually did
So
the
you
work.
guys hadn't, and I think you're on something too, that, you know, this accumulation of experience that then leads to being able to do what you guys did, which was move very quickly on a mentally fatiguing route with some exposure over a long period. I mean, had you both not been on the route much? I mean, was it
Not that season.
relatively
Not that
new?
season, but I mean, we've over the years we've each done it before that, and then we've spent. I mean, most of our runs in Little Cottonwood, whenever we're there, maybe 25% of the time in the summer is like those peaks. And
Yeah,
so
you touched
Yeah,
on
very
that.
pretty familiar with
But it was
route.
pretty funny. I was like, man, we probably lost about an hour just in forgetting a little bit of route finding. It's not like if you've ever been up on the ridgeline, it's like there's no shortcuts on the world. There's just like slight wrong turns where you're like, oh dang it, now I'm all of a sudden doing 5-7 climbing, 5-8 climbing when I should just be scrambling. I
Back up on the ridge, yeah.
Getting cliffed out and stuff like that. But I also think that kind of, like you're saying, we had a climbing background. We'd spent time doing multi-pitch stuff, and so we were used to the exposure and just, but getting across the rocks and stuff. And actually we didn't have, when we did it, we still didn't have water at Fife yet for us. So that morning I had asked a friend if he would mind hiking some water up, because we didn't want anyone to meet us, just because we really didn't know how fast we would be.
Yeah.
Kind of to that last question you asked in the macro view with the kids, like trying to get back for a certain time, there's also this element of how many times can we do this? And so we had to make it count. That's probably the way to describe it, because we weren't going to be able to get another shot in like 2 weeks later.
Together, at least.
We could if we really tried, but that's the thing with parenting, is we can't go attempt something 4 or 5 times if we care about it.
Yeah, we
kind of have one shot.
This whole thing, you know, and I think to that end, it kind of creates this reality that is so different than non-parents. I mean, it's like it really, your time is a little bit more limited. Like you really have to, you have to make it count.
But at the same time, there's a lot of room. Like even in the time that Alexis did on the WURL this last time, I think there's a lot of room for women to go faster.
That's what it sounds like. You guys had a couple moments. And tell me, so unpack that for us. I mean, what do you mean when you say that?
Well,
so I'm a total nerd. My background's an engineer, but I had done a lot of work on this like spreadsheet that's pretty successful at forecasting based on the early peaks, exactly when you'll finish, unless you're waning your pace a lot from your average. And so we knew when we were getting back to Wolverine, kind of we'd finished the Cottonwood Ridgeline and we were circling around Albion. And back there, I mean, we were on pace to go sub 20 at that point, pretty confidently based on this timing sheet. And then once the sun came up, kind of Devil's Castle to Sugarloaf area, it started getting much hotter than the forecast had been. It was supposed to be overcast.
Yeah.
And we dragged and we lost, I mean, to go from that pace in less
2 hours.
In less than half the route. Yeah, I mean, we slowed down a lot after that.
I literally never put my jacket on that whole night. That's how warm it was, even on the Cottonwood Traverse.
Remind me what time of year, what was the date that you guys did the WURL?
August 24th, so it would be in like a couple weeks.
And a little tricky there. I mean, would you guys have maybe, if you were to do it again, would you bump that date to stickier granite?
My first time I did it in September, I think September 5th, so maybe like 2 weeks after the season. And it was that, and it can always be different day to day too, but the day I went was really chilly. Like I had a long sleeve at night with gloves on. And for me, that's ideal. Lex is a little.
No, I plan on doing the WURL again at some point. And
maybe a little chillier.
Yeah, I'll do it by myself, I think, and I'll do it in September probably.
Where else could you shave time? And I love this notion, because I mean, that's what keeps us coming back to anything that we do, is this notion of like, that was awesome, let's do it again, but quicker. Where else could you shave time?
I think next time, like training for sure, because we know that we could train more for it.
Okay.
Lex could train more sections of it and figure out kind of the micro beta. On little turns and things like that.
It sounds like silly, but a minute, when you multiply that out, right, by 20 minutes, 20 different turns. Because like we had not done Fife out. I had not been on that ridgeline for like 5 years. And so I got there and I was like, oh, I totally just don't remember.
Yeah.
And then you're just tired and exhausted, and you know how you're not like thinking. So coming off of Bighorn, we ran out of water. So I ran out of water again before we even hit Lone Peak.
Yeah.
And coming across Lightning Ridge, there was a point where I was so overheated that I was like, Bren, we got to hike down, and like I could see some snow down there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to get snow in my hat and stuff it in my shirt.
It's forever the dilemma. Yeah, I haven't done the whole, but you get on sections and it's just like what I wouldn't do for a little creek. You know?
Right. And so I remember thinking like, this might lose me FKT, but I still want to finish the WURL. So it kind of became like, I knew I was losing time, but I was like, I want to finish. And I was that I rarely feel like I ever get that hot. And I think it was just, we had forgotten sunscreen, just all kinds of stuff. When you're like this is people that don't realize when you pack to go do something with your spouse and you have kids, 3 kids, you have to pack for that 24 hours for each of those 3 kids as well.
Yeah. It's not just one camel pack.
Especially if you're leading with someone like your friend who's awesome, but like doesn't often watch little kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's their breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
You know, so as far as like sunscreen being the only thing we forgot, I felt extremely lucky that was the only thing. But I guess what I'm saying is I also feel like there shouldn't be that much of a gap between the males and females. And I could list a number of females right now. Like I think Stacy Pearson, who me originally set the record, years back, she could go put down a time, I think. Yeah. And I have a lot of girlfriends right now who are training. I mean, they've done like every section just this summer once.
You guys both mentioned training on this thing. So if time and money were no object and you had all the time in the world, how does one train for the WURL? Like it just has to be this question of like, what does it require? You know, because it's kind of a unique route. You're certainly not running 530 miles for 24 hours. It's like some scrambling, some climbing, some exposure. I think Brennan, if you had more time, what would you do, training wise?
Yeah, definitely just doing more sections, maybe spending some time at altitude, because what's interesting about the WURL is you're doing so much effort at high elevation relative to where you're sleeping down in the valley.
Yeah,
and we're not coming from maybe sea level or something, but you're definitely you're never coming back down to this kind of elevation. You're kind of riding at this high level, so maybe acclimatizing to that to just be more efficient at some of those runs on the ridge lines. And then beta, there's like little, I know even though we were ahead by Wolverine way ahead of where we wanted to be, we right before Monte Cristo wasted, I think it looked like 10 to 15 minutes when we looked back, which is a decent amount on that section. We just got off route a little bit and then had to climb through some crap.
Just hadn't done it in the dark before.
So
I think you just do sections of the WURL. I think that's your best bet. And like Brennan said, you could maybe do some more like intentional weight training. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways, right, to help you for better elevation. Sorry, we got a guy putting water, or our sewer overflow, our pipes broke last week, so they're working on the sink in there.
No worries.
Oh, this is Izzy, by the way. He's our youngest.
Oh, good morning.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
You doing good?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's when people ask me, I get lots of questions about how to train. And I think really being comfortable on exposure, right? In some sections, you're still almost running across the top of those ridges if you're wanting to go fast. But I also think what is so great about the WURL is like people aren't necessarily trying to do it fast. They're just trying to do it because it's so beautiful. Yeah. It's so cool. And I think to be successful on it, fueling and hydration and I would say experience on the route finding and stuff. So
what two questions on there. Fueling, how did that look on day of for you guys? What did fueling look like on day of for you guys?
Day of, I feel like I tried to just make sure I drink as much water as possible. And Andrew, I don't even remember. I like,
No, no
you know,
worries.
I think we ate a good dinner and then put what we could in the pack, but for whatever reason, I was nauseous the entire time we were on the ridgeline. I don't know if it was heat or heart. I sometimes wonder if it was my heart rate being high
Uh-huh.
because we were going faster. So it became like I was choking down whatever I could. But I don't even know if I had more than like 1,000 calories.
You're kind of nauseous for, yeah, wow. I think there's kind of the non-traditional feel of sleep too, which we started for 2 reasons in the evening. It made childcare and stuff with the kids a little bit easier. I think I had to work that day. It was a Friday.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It had to work.
And then I also just think there's some strategy in when you start and finish the WURL. And so finishing in the light and maximizing the daylight hours you have, you kind of like can set this time at the end of a day that you want to finish and then rewind based on your estimated time. And that's when you start. So starting in the evening though, at like 9:30 is kind of interesting because you're already awake for a whole day, you know, unless you strategize something different around that. And I know any like athletes, you know, a lot that will hear this are doing more than we do, but it's a different mentality and different preparation than it is to wake up and do a 100-miler that starts at 5 a.m., which is what a lot of people are used to, is doing races in the morning. And so starting the WURL at night and having a 24-hour effort after being awake for, 12 plus hours, you kind of have to figure out, what are you doing with sleep? You want to make sure you're sleeping well the couple nights before.
Which is just a gamble with kids. You don't know. And
maybe cat nap that day.
But that's in your guys' wheelhouse. So you do the morning routine, you get the kids ready, you go to work, and then you put the kids down and you go do the WURL, and then you see them in the afternoon.
And it is nice too because they're like,
you guys are incredible. It's just it's really mind bending to me because there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, not only from the athleticism, but the sheer determination to move as quickly as you guys did, and to do it as a couple, and to do it after a full day of being awake. I mean, that is awesome. I mean, that is, and it may make sense logistically, but hats off to you. That's
it only makes sense logistically because there's children involved.
Right,
like,
right.
That's when until they were in the equation, you'd be like, why did they do what they did?
You guys are such a power couple. I mean, that's so awesome to me. And it may make sense logistically, but still appreciating the fact that you're like, that's the end of at the end of the day on Friday, I'm like pizza couch. I'm off the bed. You guys are going set record on the WURL. I love it.
And people are like, oh, try to stay off your feet. And I'm like, I don't know.
That's not really an option.
not for us today. But I think it kind of, like you're saying, we also rarely do stuff together that has higher risk, just because if something were to happen, both parents. I feel like we feel pretty comfortable in the WURL, but that's another reason why it's like, we often don't try to do things that are super high risk together.
Would you say your risk margin is similar? Your guys is accepted margin for risk when you're climbing it en route? Is that something you talk about as a couple with kids?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think.
I mean, we haven't talked about it much, I guess. But.
Well, since we stopped trying to do the free wall speed climbing. Brennan was doing a little bit of speed climbing on El Cap, trying to do like a 12-hour set of El Cap.
We've both kind of played with safety margin. I probably have played with safety margin more in climbing, and Lex has probably played with actually climbing harder grades than I have. Whereas I've gone like trad granite, which you get into safety margin issues at lower grades. Whereas Lex, I feel like climbs harder than I do in general.
But when he did that 12, when he tried the El Cap attempt, I think it made us realize I was pregnant with our second at that time. And I was just hanging out in the valley while he and a friend were doing it. It came down and he was like, okay, once you have kids, it feels different. You don't care as much to kind of take the exact risk, especially while they're small, I feel like.
Because there's a new metric inside of your risk profile where you start considering there's new trade-offs now. You're not just losing potential ability or life, worst case. You're also losing all the things you would miss out on or not be able to participate the same way with your kids. Yeah. And so I think I saw that when I was trying to do the nose really quickly, and just figuring out for myself that like there's a lot of things I want to do, and is doing this at this speed, like this can be done at a slower speed, much safer.
Sure.
So I think it readjusted. That was a big inflection point for me with risk margin. The WURL is interesting because a lot of people who are more recreational trail runners that don't do as much on ridgelines or don't have a background in climbing, like a lot of friends, I have a friend that's actually starting the WURL, I think today's Friday, right? He's starting it tonight. Probably 28, 30 hour type of a range. And he had a lot of questions about the risk and the grade of climbing and stuff like that. And it's hard to assess because to me, the WURL, there's never a point where you're really, really in risk of your life unless something happens unpredictably with a large boulder, versus other traverses like the Evo Traverse in California. There's much riskier ridgelines out there that people do. So
well, like
I'd
I
say
said, I think it's because we come from a climbing background.
Yeah, it lowers that perceived risk. But.
Yeah.
What are your favorite sections on the WURL? Do you have plans to do it
any?
yourself?
I'm not frothing to do it. I think in sections and bite-sized pieces, I love it, but I'm like, I did a friend and I did this like snowbird to out, and that was like I got done. I was like, that was fantastic. I'm done. I'm good. Last weekend I did the middle section. I do love doing it in sections, but like my kind of like joy factor, and I'm I think we touch on something important here, which is like everybody's risk assessment and craving for, or summit fever, I'll often call it, like how driven are you to get to the top of something. And some people have summit fever really bad and they're willing to accept quite a bit of risk, and it's just like this thing that runs strong in them. And I'm more of like I like to go really hard for 9 to 12 hours, but I hit the 20. Like if I'm talking about 24 hours, it's like what am I doing here?
So hard knowing.
If I was quick enough to do it, in 15 hours or something, then maybe. But wait and see. There's so much to do in the Wasatch. There's so much to do in the winds. There's so much to do in the Uintas. So yeah, maybe someday. But as far as you guys, moving forward, there's always something maybe on the horizon for you guys, or is that not how your planning works? Are you guys have any current projects or aspirations on the horizon?
Yeah, I've got a race tomorrow morning. Just kind of last minute, one of the only races that was open for the season. Everything else got canceled. Planning to see if I can do the Grand Traverse and the Tetons with a friend.
Excellent.
We're going to try to do it quickly, but in no means anything near the record, which is obscenely fast. So we're just trying to go and okay.
Cool.
Just try to have fun and see if we can do it efficiently.
I've not given myself any goals right now except for trying to show restraint on my ankle. I had like pretty invasive surgery and was 10 weeks non-weight bearing completely on my left foot back in December through January, well, basically through February. So I'm slowly coming back from that, and it's a cartilage issue. So it'll take like a full year before I can start to really let go. So I'm trying really hard to.
Yeah, your next project is learning how to run downhill again.
Right. So I'm just, like that's what we've been spending a lot of time on the river. I love the river. I'm not like the best rower, but it's also a really fun family activity. And I've been road biking a lot, but I'm trying not to, like I said, I'm trying not to give myself a goal so that I don't rush through recovery. So if I say anything, my goal for 2020 is to survive 2020.
Amen.
and not, undo any work that was done on my ankle.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe work on speed or something. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of like, what works with the family. We have some family goals as far as like doing some longer hikes with the kids.
Backpacked with all of them for the first time this summer. Just a little camp out on the side.
What are the ages? Tell me the ages one more time. What are the ages of your?
4 and 2.
And you guys went backpacking. Tell me about that. Where'd you go?
So it was really short, but it was really steep. We just hiked up to the saddle of Mount Air.
Okay.
They slept there, and
nice.
And then they summited in the morning. But the 6 and 4-year-old both carried their own sleeping bag and pad.
Oh man.
Which blew my mind. And because like it's give and take with kids. Like sometimes we'll go and do like 5 or 6 miles, and then
Yeah.
other days it's like they won't even do 2 miles. But I will say, like, trying to teach them that discomfort is okay, and then
Yeah.
strength later. It's something we talk a lot about with them. We're like, oh, your legs are hurting because they're getting stronger.
Be careful, you're gonna create little monsters. They're gonna be
Brainwashing,
crushing it.
Probably brainwashing. But I mean, people do really, it's also that balance of, we're this way with climbing too. We never want to force them to do anything because we really don't want them to hate the outdoors. So it's a balance. Like, you do one of those backpacking trips every once in a while, and then the rest of the time, most of the activities need to be more enjoyable and fun, so that they'll keep coming back with us, I think. But teaching discomfort is, I think, one of the biggest skills we're trying to do. We also, I mean, like, we're in the middle. We were like everyone. I feel like COVID has just thrown a wrench in life, and so we're also spending a lot of time and energy, I feel like, just trying to keep our family unit healthy. See how we can, maybe focus a little more of our time on helping people in our community and all that stuff, right? Like, it's been a sobering time. And we love the outdoors. We love to train. We love goals. But there's also a lot of other things in this life that are equally, if not more important than any of that stuff. So raising human beings that have grit, but also that hopefully will improve humanity as well.
I think you are. Keep posting those river pictures, and every time I see a photo of you guys and your family, it's like just right out of National Geographic. It's like, gosh, these guys are doing it right. So
there's lots of cheers and screaming involved. Don't worry.
The picture only tells half the story, but the story being told is pretty good, I have to say.
On our last river trip, our 4-year-old, right as we pulled up to the boat ramp to put in our raft, well, my sister's raft, she like threw up and then had diarrhea. And I was like, great, we're off to a good start. I'm gonna hope that was just like road sickness. And then she was like, I feel better, Mom, I'm okay. So it, like, that's life, right? Where you're like, okay, we're gonna be up, but we hope it pays off. And I do think it's like, we lost a lot of sleep, especially when we were really young, and we'd still go and climb and camp and do this stuff, but it is paying off. We're like, they're excited to do this stuff now. So
well,
and this kid just gets drug everywhere because he's the third. So,
no worries. Good to go.
Everyone else a little bit better, but we're like, nah, sorry.
Well, I'll say this. How can people? What's the best way people stay up to speed with all this awesome stuff that you guys are doing?
Oh man, I don't know if people need to stay up to speed on what we're doing. I'm like, but it's true. Like, I will say, I post photos, and the one thing I don't want people to feel like is that they need to be doing any of this stuff with their kids, Like
fair enough.
You know what I mean? No, like, I don't want to cause, and I know I do, because I feel that way when I look at Instagram sometimes, right? Which is like, oh, they're doing that or whatever. But I mean, our Instagram is hit or miss.
I'll say this then. I think the quote, the key takeaway was, you guys maintain crazy good fitness on limited time, and you did the WURL in record time after a full week, started after a full day of being awake, and you guys still crushed it, which to me means you're both superhuman. So thank you for joining me this morning. I think the world of you both, and I wish you all the best getting through
Andrew,
this crazy COVID business. So.
I know. We were super stoked to do the interview, and I was really bummed to not get together for no other reason, to just get together with what a great group of people and hear other people's perspectives. I'm always so interested. So much of our life right now is like fly by the seat of our pants, right? It's like, oh, opportunity, let's pursue.
Yeah.
So like you said, planning doesn't, or for us, like, planning doesn't always happen, but I mean, like, yeah, if I could say anything, it's like, people are so much more capable than they realize. And I think definitely our mind limits us more than anything else. And then I also think, as a parent, like, I would say, do whatever keeps you sane. But also don't be afraid to try new things with your kids. But mostly it's okay if you feel like that's going to make you want to kill them.
There you have it. There you have it. Thank you guys for sitting down. I know it's hard to carve out time, so I appreciate it.
No, this was great. This is great. Yeah. You look like you've been crushing, man. It's been fun to watch your little self. I don't even know, like Suffer Fest is what I refer to them as.
I'm getting Alicia into some trail. We're headed up to do the Wonderland Trail in Washington here pretty soon. Headed down to we might see you down at the Tusher Mountains this weekend, maybe not, but yeah, hopefully we'll see you out there, and someday we'll do that panel. Get everyone together.
Look for a white van if you're at Tusher's. I may be there hanging out while he's running, but may or not. But yeah, have fun. I'm excited to see pictures of Wonderland. It's supposed to be beautiful up there.
Should be.
And Alicia's amazing. She's a crusher herself. It's so fun to watch her. Plus, she's always smiling. I love you.
Not always.
Oh yeah, we never always are.
But anywho. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I just think the world of you guys both.
Andrew.
I appreciate you joining us.
With us. Yeah. Do you want to say bye?
Adios. See you guys. Bye.
See you.